It's Peter Vollers with the Vermont Overland. I got a bunch of questions with Vermont Overland Winter Challenge coming up in a week and a half about basic truck setup, winter camping. The last video I did, I referred to the fact that I sleep in my truck, so I thought it was high time that I give you kind of a glimpse into how I set up my truck. And it's one of the best things about overlanding in general is how we personally set up our vehicles. And if you're like me, you go to great lengths to make things more and more efficient over the years, and you leave behind things that you haven't used in a while, and you realize that you need other things, so you remember to put those back in. And I've been honing my setup for as long as I can remember. And just, I have some basic rules, and one of the basic rules I have is that everything that I need to get at often needs to be easy to get at. I know it sounds commonsensical, but I don't know how many times I've seen somebody need to use the winch, and they need to get all the way out of the vehicle, go all the way into the back door of the vehicle, and dig for a tree strap. Just things like that. Is that you need to keep things that you're going to use often very handy. There are other things you can pack away that you very rarely need, but just real quick, I'm just going to go through my setup that I keep pretty much year round. So just starting on this side of the vehicle, what I've got here is I've got my food bag here. This is for dry goods, things like that. It's a really good rugged bag. I can zip it up. It's got several different pockets, and I keep things I don't need to keep refrigerated in there. In the refrigerator right here, this is my tried and true angle fridge, which I got years and years ago. I think I got this 12 years ago. A dozen years ago. Yeah, I think that's when I first got it. It was a painful expenditure when I first got it, but like anything else, I always say with people when they're buying bicycles that always overbuy. Always buy the best bike or get the best equipment you can get, because every time you throw a leg over it on a bike, you're going to be glad you did. And every time I open this fridge, I'm glad I bought an angle fridge, because it's just phenomenal. It has just been unbelievably reliable, and it's just really great because I could just keep all my refrigerated stuff as cold as I need it to be. And in the wintertime, it's very important because your stuff will freeze if you leave your truck overnight, or if you park it even, in the environment that we have up here in Vermont. If we park it even overnight or for a few hours at dinner, our beverages can freeze in there. So it's really important. Just underneath my food bag, I keep that really easy to get to because I get it out and I bring it to where I bring it to where I'm cooking food and everything. This is just basic tools and stuff. I keep this strapped in with this strap. It's strapped around so anything happens. Plus, it's awfully wedged in there. So I've got my basic Home Depot tool set there. It's got all my ratchets and screwdrivers and wrenches and things like that. This is just a catch-all bin that I keep all sorts of things in: a spare wiper blade, ratchet straps, fluids. I keep all of my fluids in here. My gear fluid. I keep extra fire starters. I keep all sorts of extra things packed in here that I don't need to get at that often, but it's nice to have in there. This is just my basic tool bag that I can get at very easily, that I keep a lot of just basic hand tools. I keep it right front and center so I can get at it. This is my beloved coffee set, which I could not live without when I'm on the trail, because I always drink coffee in the afternoon and of course in the morning when I get up. I like to keep it real handy, as you're going to see in a moment. And I just keep a basic espresso maker. That's what I do. Italian espresso maker. I've tried every conceivable coffee configuration because there's one thing I am truly addicted to. It is coffee, and I am a coffee snob. I got to have really strong coffee. So I keep that right there. I cook it on I heat it up right on my little jet boil coffee maker thingy. I keep that hooked right up, and I use this coffee. I use this Medaglia d'Oro Italian coffee, and it is just fantastic. A lot of people ask me about the coffee setup. I can have a brewed cup of extremely strong espresso within about 3 minutes flat. So, and what's nice is I use this, actually you'll see in a second, I use that when I am doing my winter camping and when I'm in my routine in the car. So I keep all that super easy to get to. So just going around to the other side of the car, this is my camping setup. And I have, you're going to see in a second, so just continuing over here, all this is I have these Corbeau Baja seats. These fold dead flat. So all this is a Corbeau Baja seat. I've taken the rear seats out of the Tacoma, obviously. I fold that dead flat, and I put a thermarest, a thin thermarest on that, and then my sleeping bag and my pillow, and I'm done. It takes about 20 seconds to set up. That's about it. I've got a table right here that I can make my coffee on. I can get at my beverages or whatever I need, cold water, things like that that's in here. I can get out my food bag in the morning. And this is just where I sleep. I fold that down, and I am absolutely comfy. Another little trick that I'm going to let you guys in on: have a pee bottle. Have a pee bottle. I hate to do this, but it's so important, because how many of you have gotten out of your tent and had to pee in the middle of the night? What I do for the pee bottles, I just use a wide mouth Nalgene right here, and then I keep right next to it my narrow mouth Nalgene. That's how I, stupid simple things, but that's how I keep them when it's in the dark and out. I can just feel that that's the wide mouth. I can feel that's the narrow mouth Nalgene, which I use for drinking water, and I don't confuse the two. So, but it's just a great thing not to have to get up out of your nice warm sleeping bag to go to the bathroom. So this is basically the sleeping setup, and again, it's just incredibly comfortable. So here's the Mr. Heater, which everybody's been asking about. This is just a normal Mr. Heater. This one I've had for years. The newer ones I think are just a little bit probably better quality and maybe light easier or something, I've heard, but this has been reliable for me. And I just keep this set up right in my seat right here. There are just a couple important factors that you have to consider with the Mr. Heater. For one, this thing's on full blast right now, and it is absolutely comfortable. And yes, I have this console here, but it's not hot. The warm air is kind of coming up like this and flowing through the car in the upper portions. The seat is just a tiny little bit warm, but this has been going for probably 10 or 15, a solid 15 minutes now, and it's certainly not hot at all. It's just warm. So I've experimented with a couple different locations. I like it low like this because it makes the heat come over me a little bit better. It also is high. It also keeps plenty of room to keep it away from the ceiling. What I do with the Mr. Heater, you're going to notice that I've got the windows open. Crucial thing. You've got to keep at least the window near the Mr. Heater. It uses oxygen, so you need to keep that open because it'll suck the oxygen right out of the car. Very, very important. I keep a cross ventilation going, so I keep my passenger side window open as well. But basically the Mr. Heater protocol is this. You put a new container of propane in, the common propane tanks that you can get anywhere. I light it when I first get in the vehicle, when I'm going to bed. I light it and I crank it up high. I get the vehicle nice and warm while I'm undressing, and it just instantly warms you. I mean, it's just 70 degrees in your vehicle right away. You're toasty warm if you put it in a good location. It's very important to put it in a location where you've got lots of room just above it and in front of it. That's the hot zone, above it and in front of it. Straight in front of it right here, it's not that hot. On the sides of it, not that hot. Underneath it, not that hot at all. But in its upper, kind of on a 45-degree angle coming off of it is the hottest zone. So that's where you want to place it in such a location that that's not going to be an issue. So I keep it really hot, and then what I do is as I'm winding down, what I actually like to do, what I've taken to, is I use my iPad, which I use for navigation, as everybody knows. I use my iPad, and what I like to do is I watch like an old movie. I download old movies from Amazon or from Netflix or something. I keep them on the actual iPad because we wouldn't have coverage in a lot of places where we're camping. So, and I just watch a movie. I usually don't get through it. I watch the beginning of it at night. I might drink some tea or something before I go to bed. Again, I've got my pee bottle, so I don't have to worry about having to get up in the middle of the night and go into the bathroom. But I just watch part of an old movie while I'm falling asleep. When I do that, I turn the Mr. Heater down to actually just pilot. And that's the way I conserve the fuel. If it's really, really cold out, I can go to just the low setting. It's on the high setting now. That's the medium. I've gone to the low to medium setting. And that you still have the red screen. It's just lower. If it's really cold out, I'll keep it on there. That can sometimes deplete the fuel by early morning, which is not such a big deal because I always carry an extra fuel tank. I can change it. But guaranteed, I keep a pretty good bag, a 0-degree bag. So I can't even remember the last time it was so cold that I needed to keep it on. But what I usually do is I turn it down to pilot light. And the pilot light provides just enough. It actually just goes and it burns that pilot light. And that provides just enough warmth and dryness in the vehicle that I don't get any condensation buildup. So, and with that, I can keep, the windows just at a crack and everything, keeps enough oxygen coming in. And so I just keep that on as I'm sleeping. And then what I usually do is when I get up at like 4 in the morning to Again, go on my pee bottle, sorry. But when I do that, then I crank it up to medium at that point, and I keep that on so it's nice and toasty warm as I'm getting that last few hours of sleep in the morning. And I usually get up like 6 or 7 o'clock, and I don't have to get out of the truck, again, because I can go to the bathroom in the truck, but I also have everything right here. So what I like to do is I crank up the old movie, and I've got like these old Humphrey Bogart movies and things like that. I crank up the heat, and I make some coffee, and I usually have some, you know, breakfast items and stuff like that without even having to get up. And it is just awesome. A lot of people are like, I can't stand winter camping. I've tried it before. I am so uncomfortable. The point of overlanding, guys, is be comfortable. We have a vehicle. You have a structure. You have padding. You have all these things around you to make you comfortable. That's the whole point, is be comfortable. But don't be comfortable to the point where you have to bring, you know, the kitchen sink with you. You want to be comfortable in such a way that's efficient, because it's a balance between being really comfortable but also being efficient. You don't want to be spending all your time doing setup and takedowns, which is a huge consideration for me. I try to make everything so my setup time is less than 5 minutes no matter what. If it's longer than that, I redo it. I just keep tweaking it until I've got it differently. So this is the whole setup. This is kind of command central. I keep my iPhone here, my iPad there for navigation. I've got my CV radio, you know, my locker buttons and things like that. I've got two extra power things here. These are always hot. These are live, so I can keep my Engel fridge plugged in right there. That's the wire for that. Very important before I forget. Carbon monoxide detector. I do keep one right next to my head, so I keep one right down there. I test it before each trip. That's right down there, and it's tucked right underneath. It doesn't get banged around or anything, and I keep the battery fresh in that just in case. Carbon monoxide likes to go low. It likes to sink, so you can keep them low. Smoke detectors need to go high because that's where the smoke goes, but carbon monoxide tends to sink down, so you keep that low, and that will protect you just in case. These Mr. Heaters are pretty foolproof, but you still want to be safe with that. They're a full burn and everything. As long as you have enough oxygen, you should be fine with that. So anyway, that's my camping setup. Really looking forward to Vermont Overland Winter Challenge. And again, guys, come on out, test your setup. You can always bail out. We're gonna have, you know, the run-in barn is gonna be heated to some degree. So you can always go in the house too. So it's not a big deal, but try it. You know, winter camping is a lot of fun if you plan it properly. And for me, I really rely on this Mr. Heater because it makes things great. I know a lot of guys who don't need them. They have great bags. They don't get a lot of condensation in their truck, and they do just fine without them. But I just like to be really comfortable. Thanks. Peter Vollers, Vermont Overland, week and a half, winter challenge. Be there.